First of all, thanks to you all for being here. I know that these bowls are typically at a pretty inconvenient time from a holiday standpoint and a family standpoint. So it does not go lost on us that you guys jumped on planes either Christmas Day or maybe the day after Christmas, or and that you're here because you play such an important role for us in connecting back to our communities. So I do want to make sure you know how much we appreciate that. Let me talk about the department holistically for a minute, and then obviously we'll get to some more footballs. You just moved my notes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. Did you like that?
That was great.
Yeah, okay.
That was comedy right now.
I'll talk more holistically about the department, and then obviously we'll get to the football piece. We've had a really good fall. A really good fall competitively, whether it be our women's volleyball program making the Elite Eight and having an opportunity to win the Big Ten up to the last night. Men's soccer went back to the NCAA for the first time since 2013. Was in the Big Ten hunt the entire regular season. Women's soccer captured the Big Ten title. Went deep into the NCAAs. Field hockey was an overtime away from a Big Ten title and getting to the NCAAs. Women's cross country captured the NCAA regional title and finished 18th in the country, and obviously you've heard all of the stats around what football's doing, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I had the pleasure of Fort Worth hosted an Olympic senior nationals Olympic qualifier in wrestling here over last weekend, and I had the opportunity to go last Sunday and see a couple of our guys compete. Obviously, our wrestling program continues to be in a great position. Men's basketball, really excited about where they are. Women's basketball under first-year coach Carolyn Keeger is laying the foundation for what we will know will be future success. And then we've got a number of our programs: men's and women's gymnastics, men's and women's swimming, fencing, indoor track, that obviously are competing from a collegiate standpoint, but we're also now 6 plus away from the opening of the opening ceremonies of the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, and Penn State will certainly take their place there. I had our coaches send me a list of who they believed would be Olympic trials type competitors for obviously the U.S. as well as a number of different countries. I got a list of almost 200 people. Of current students and alumni that will be vying for spots for their country in the Olympics in Tokyo in 2020. One of the better things that we do. So very, very excited about that. Men's lacrosse #1 in the country in the preseason poll there. So lots of great things there. I never talk about our successes competitively without talking about the academic piece. We have APR data that will be coming out this spring. I can't give you the details, but there will be some really, really good news, some impressive things there from a sport-by-sport standpoint. And then obviously in October we announced that our latest set of NCAA graduation rate, GSR data, established a new historical high at 91%. For us. So very proud of that, proud of the opportunity to have the kind of competitive success we have while not only maintaining where Penn State has always been academically, but actually taking that to another level. So it takes a village. Our students obviously deserve the lion's share of the credit, but so do our coaches for bringing the right students to Penn State. And then also the support around them, whether it be our Morgan Academic Center staff, whether it be our faculty, you name it, a lot of help for them. It's in our DNA. Everywhere they look, they get the message that they are expected to compete in the classroom just like they do on the field. So we always talk about facilities. We have the last 3, 4, 5 going into 6 years. Obviously, it's a journey. We continue to raise funds for that. Look at how we can fund different facilities there. Several of our Phase 1 projects, we are working on lead donors that would really kick those projects off. Certainly, you look at we've got I think 3 facilities that really speak to the importance of facilities. Most of you have probably heard me say this before, but whether it's Panzer, it's Lash, Pagula, the Morgan Academic Center, all of those you have seen. I mean, I'll point to the Morgan Academic Center. I just talked about historic highs in terms of what we're doing academically. I don't think the establishment of the Morgan Academic Center and the new facility that we're in should take a huge amount of credit for that, but it takes some. There's no doubt in my mind that our student athletes walk in that facility and they walk a little taller and they know that we have prioritized academics and they get that message. Obviously, Pagula Ice Arena and what that has done for not only the establishment of both of those programs, but their success. Panzer Stadium, both of our lacrosse coaches have recruited to that vision for several years. It became a reality, and our men's program wins the Big Ten title, goes to the NCAAs, has an NCAA win for the first time ever, and goes to the Final Four. So lots going on there. Basketball and field hockey, those projects will break ground or begin this spring. And as I think I probably created the storm of you-know-what this time last year and talked about that we would start to look at what a Beaver Stadium renovation might look like. That continues to operate in the background. Let's make this really, really clear. That is years away. Thank you for laughing, Audrey. That is still years away, but that's such a massive project that it will take that long, and so the planning process needs to go on there. Those facilities take resources. We need resources to go out and hire, bring talent, bring new talent to Penn State, to retain our very, very best people. So that means that our current streams, we need to make them more robust, and we need to initiate or discover new revenue streams. And so obviously that part of our operation continues to pursue that. It means we need to continually press and look at and find that sweet spot between bringing value to our fans and our customers, making sure we're in the right place from a market standpoint, and also making sure that we can create the kinds of resources that are necessary to fund all of this success that I've just been talking about. So it's a delicate balance, and we've got the best fans in the world. That is one of our most precious points of difference, and I certainly thank them and appreciate them. And we're always looking for. That's why I put number 1 there. What's the value that we can drive and provide for them, whether that's around concessions or traffic or ingress or egress, and I'm talking specifically, obviously, Beaver Stadium here. But all of those things are things that we have already been examining, obviously, through the new traffic pattern this year. We listen to our fans. We continue to tweak things throughout the year. We'll make more changes and more tweaks that we'll unveil probably in January at some point as we come out with our season ticket renewal. We have, as you know, we have a fan council. We have a Nittany Lion Club development council. We have an ORV fan council as well, and all of those avenues provide us with great input there. So specifically to football, 3 out of the last 4 years, the New Year's 6. We're looking for win number 11 in 2019. Certainly very pleased to extend James's contract, of which you will get details at some point, hopefully early in the new year. He's an exceptional leader. He's a tremendous fit for Penn State. Obviously, the statistics around the wins and the success that we've had, I think, speak very, very loudly and probably could stand on their own, but not at Penn State. It's also those other things that he is. He just called himself an educator in his press conference. Not a lot of football coaches do that. James does it with frequency, and he takes it very, 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 very seriously. Clearly, it's an understatement to say that we're headed in the right direction. We continue to execute on our commitment as an institution, our commitment to compete We continue to have conversations, all of us as an administration, whether it's board and President Barron or Scott Sidwell and myself and others within the department, about how we do that. We've kind of settled on in different categories. We need to be top 3 in the Big Ten and top 10 nationally. As kind of a benchmark. I think in many of the things we've done, we're top 1 or 2 and top 5-ish nationally. But this is all around a commitment to compete, a commitment to compete in everything we do. So that's a 13-minute, 12-minute, 11-minute opening statement. Now let's get to what you guys want to talk about.
Sandy, the football contract, James's new contract. Are we going to be seeing the buyout figure?
Yeah,
in those figures?
That will all come out in the terms and conditions.
And I assume we haven't before seen money that is distributed, extra money to assistant coaches.
That's because this is James's contract.
Yeah, okay.
It's not in there.
Okay, it's not a stipulation. Previously, under Rod Erickson and Dave Joyner, the university made a mandate to have greater transparency. Do you and President Barron share the stipulations that they made? I guess it was in 2012.
We've been very clear that the head football coach's contract will be made public and the athletic director's contract will be made public, and we have lived up to that.
Can I follow up, Sandy, and can you speak to the spirit of the negotiations? I know you can't give details,
sure,
but how much of James's concern was about getting not just paid himself, but also the amount of money needed for facilities upgrades and to take care of the assistant coaches, as Dave was saying?
Yeah, I would say those are two separate things, although obviously they conflate it at some point. As it relates to the assistant coaches, as it relates to facilities, those are conversations we have, frankly, almost daily, certainly weekly, about our ability to compete. And so I would hesitate to say that those ended up being part of the his contract negotiation. Now, don't get me wrong. James is always looking out for his assistants. James is always pushing what's going to help Penn State be competitive. So that is always happening. But those commitments were made by us long ago. As we've talked about from an assistant coach's salary pool, I know some, and I actually don't think it's the media, I think it's more fans, continue to look at a salary figure for one of our more high-profile assistant coaches from like 5 years ago. I can guarantee you that's not what he's making today. But we made a commitment several years ago to upgrading our assistant coaches pool, and for the last 3 years, James and I have and others have sat down, determined a number. He's asked for a number, and that's what he's been given, and this year is no different.
Sandy, for 3 years in a row now, 3 Decembers in a row, James's name has been mentioned with other jobs. As an athletic director, does that get tiresome? Does it, in your position, how do you deal with that? Do you think that this new contract will at least quiet things a year from now?
First of all, I think it's awesome. You always want someone that other people want, because if they don't, you got a different kind of problem, right? So I think it's fantastic. I love the fact that Penn State has a head coach that a lot of other people want. Contracts are not going to. This contract, any contract, is not going to stop that. And I don't really want it to. I want us to continue to have the kind of success that's going to draw other people to James. But he's a Penn Stater. He's our coach, and he's going to remain that way.
Sandy, obviously.
So you had mentioned being top 3 in the Big Ten and top 10 in certain, I guess, financial categories, or in
all categories.
What were those? What are your data points telling you that you are top 3 and top 10 nationally in certain defining characteristics in football?
Assistant coach's salary, personnel, head coach's salary, the kinds of services we're providing for student athletes, academic services, you name it.
What about facilities? And obviously, can you speak to where the design phase is with the football facilities that were announced last year?
Yeah, so as we've clarified a couple of times, the Board of Trustees approved us to hire an architect to design about $70 million of further renovations to Lash. We're about halfway through that. We hope to see something late summer, early fall on that, and then we could decide what's next in the process. But obviously, we're committed to finishing the Lash master plan, as well as practice fields and Haluba, lots of things about. But again, that was not necessarily connected to these contract conversations, because we committed to that long ago.
But where do you think you stack up in the Big Ten with respect to facilities, I guess?
Yeah, I think when we are done with the master plan, we'll be as good as anybody.
But can you even have a potential timeline on that for being done with those renovations?
So it needs to be, we need to finish design so we can understand how to phase it or not phase it, so that we avoid any major disruption that would be a disruption to our competitive ability in any given season.
Is that like 5 years, 10 years? 20?
I would say way less than that.
Would you like to build another indoor practice facility that either would be football specific or that other sport? So Haluba is not being shared.
Yeah, it's part of our first 5-year master plan, a second indoor facility.
Now, would that be for football? Or would that be for the other programs?
Right now, it's designed as part of the Center of Excellence. We share all of our facility, but it would be primarily for our non-football programs, which would leave Haluba primarily for football.
Sandy, what are the challenges? We're talking about a lot of different elements that all contain money: assistant coach, head coach, facilities. What are the challenges? You've got 30 plus sports.
That would be 31.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are there challenges with trying to fund everything? And where does all this money come from?
Yeah. Well, that's why one of my opening points was to talk about our revenue streams. They're very healthy. We're very fortunate to be a member of the Big Ten, but at the same time, most of our competition, some of it in the Big Ten, Ohio State and Michigan have significant number of programs, but frankly, most of the programs, most of the institutions we compete against outside of the Big Ten aren't trying to do that. So that is a little bit of a unique challenge to us, but it is something that our community embraces, and so that's who we are. It's absolutely part of who we are. So then we just have to sit down and come up with a plan for how we fund that. As I talked about, our current revenue streams and making sure that we are hitting that sweet spot of being able to maximize revenue, but at the same time providing value to our fans. There's a balance there somewhere, and then seeking new streams of revenue. It is a challenge because again, it's not an institution in the SEC with 17 or 18 programs has a different way to focus and balance their revenue over those 17 or 18 sports. But that's why healthy revenue streams, being prudent around what we're doing financially, but at the same time understanding the investments that need to be made to be competitive in all of our sports. We take them sport by sport because it takes something very different to be, 8 out of the last 9 national championships in wrestling than it does being a CFP contender in football than it does being Big Ten champs and compete for the national championship in field hockey or fencing.
Sandy, there's some excitement based around the men's basketball program right now.
You bet there
Some
is.
serious excitement. I've been doing this a long time. They're actually scalping tickets for the Ohio State game at crazy prices I haven't seen. The Jordan Center has this convoluted management arrangement where you're not really, I believe, still not really in charge of it. And
It's not convoluted.
it's simply and bad, or what?
The BJC is managed by Penn State Auxiliary Services.
Okay. Anyway, the athletic department does not have an exact wherewithal to manage certain things that happen there, correct?
We do not manage the BJC.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes. So when big crowds, and this goes back in a lot of history, the whole history of the joint, when big crowds converge on this place, it's mismanaged. They don't have enough people, and they don't have enough staff, and people get mad. Ticket lines, concessions. What can you do to maybe rearrange the arrangement? Is there any possibility of that, of management? And B, put pressure on the facilities management people to do things correctly, because it's happened over and over and over?
First of all, we're partners with the BJC management. So we do work together, and we will continue to work together, and we are anticipating large crowds for this great team, and they deserve it. And we certainly hope to be able to address the kinds of things that you talked about.
Who decides when the curtain is raised, for instance?
Yeah, we do that in conjunction with the BJC management.
Can you give absolute orders? Can you say, look, do this?
We are partners with the BJC management.
Time for one more.
Sandy, obviously the football parking and traffic, whatever, the system was pretty, I guess, drawn out and, a big process for you guys. How would you evaluate that overall? And what changes do you foresee happening there in the future?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. And we certainly knew it was a big change. And knew that early on there would be some challenges that maybe later in the season wouldn't exist, and I think that's the way it played out. I also am really pleased with, again, kind of the cooperative effort between Penn State Police, jurisdiction, our community, municipalities, thank you very much, between traffic and transportation on campus, OPP, and intercollegiate athletics, that each and every week, even sometimes during game, in game, there was on-the-spot observation, change this, change that, week to week, okay, we're going to get rid of that, we're going to add that, and now that same process has taken place in kind of a post-mortem of the entire season, and I think we do have about a half a dozen things we're going to be rolling out as we roll out season ticket renewals for 2020. Again, trying to add value, to listen to our customers, listen to our fans, what is it they want, what is it they're most concerned about, and trying to find that sweet spot.
Sandy, how good do you feel for Pat Chambers that he's having some of the
About him being able to find his parking spot at the Beaver Stadium?
just about after everything he's been through, that finally there seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I feel great for Pat. Obviously, I've been a huge supporter of Pat Chambers and felt that the signs were there. Now, look, I mean, we got a long way to go in 2020, but I feel really good about this squad and the confidence that they have. I love this for Pat, but I love it even more for our kids in our community. To be able to add men's basketball to that list of Penn State programs that are getting it done on the national scene.
Thank you, Sandy.
I'm curious about.
One more for Neil.
Neil.
Come on. Let's go. Who said that?
He also has something he has to go do.
She doesn't get hit on that wrecking ball. Is the Pitt series dead? Is there any discussion?
We waited around for this. No, as you know, I mean, I've said it 100 times before. With us playing a 9-game schedule, them playing an 8-game schedule, that makes it's a different proposition for them than it is for us. I would certainly not say it's dead. I would say it's not something we're talking about right now. We've got a Power 5 game scheduled out for a number of years, but I certainly wouldn't say it's dead. So, thanks everybody, really appreciate it. Yep.
Thank you, Sandy.
And yes, I was having fun.
You're smiling a lot.
Because I knew what question you were going to ask, Dave. That's why.